All right, well, it's May Day. Do you know where your next job is? To hear protesters around the world tell it, they're not. So they're looking for governments to help out pretty much everywhere. But aren't we in the pinch we're in because, well, a lot of us already depended on government too much, and now government is saying we can't keep paying for this. To Didi Benkie and Steve Laser and Peter Suderman. Didi, what do you think?
Well, I think it's lazy asses unite today. And I'm saying that because I ran into them. Oh,
that's nice. That's really classy.
Well, no, I'm just saying they weren't classy today because I walked out of Grand Central Station. I saw big protesters. It was Lady Liberty. It was the Statue of Liberty, an effigy. You could tell they hadn't begged. You could tell they're mad. They were cursing Americans. I had a problem with it. None of you get jobs. My first job was detasseling corn. It was a crummy job. It was terrible. Nobody wanted to do it. But you know what? I did it. I took it because that's all there was.
What were you doing?
Does anyone see? The city slickers don't know what this is. I'm from Indiana, so I detasseled corn, which means you go through the corn rows, and you have to reach up and you have to pull the tassels out. And it's monotonous, terrible, hot work, but that's all there was. So I think people could work. They just don't. They're just lazy.
Well, you recognize the day for, Steve, I guess, is labor worldwide and the working man and woman and celebrating what they contribute to the world. And I guess a lot of them feel that their contributions aren't being rewarded, and they're angry at governments who are now cutting back a lot of the cradle-to-grave protections they've had. And they don't like it. That's perfectly human, but they don't seem to see reality.
Well, I have to disagree with Didi's lazy-ass comment there. You know, some of those folks saying that, like in Indonesia, they're making $50 a month, and yet they're working 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Not even allowed to talk about anything other than work at their jobs and things like that. Those folks are working really hard.
What would you think of the ones going on in Europe?
You know, I think workers around the world have spent the last 30 and 40 years watching corporations and the wealthy get wealthier while their own wages are stagnant or even getting lower with respect to inflation. I think it's government's fault. I'm actually against government here because government hasn't been doing their part in making sure that benefits and wages keep up with inflation.
Well, something's happening because there is that chasm, Peter, that and now a lot of workers are taking it out on those who are doing well. And they think that governments have to do more to make up for that, or at least go after or tax the rich more to even things out. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I think the last guest was right in one way. It is government's fault, but the problem is that government is doing too much. And what these protesters shouldn't be asking for is for government to do more, but instead for it to do less. Government isn't very good at increasing employment. What it is pretty good at is making it harder for employers to hire new workers. And we've seen that in the United States, where when you have benefit programs that make it easier to be unemployed,
Steve's
we have
shaking his head. He's not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
When you have, it makes it easier for people to be unemployed. They choose
the U.S. have $1.7 trillion banked right now that they're not doing anything with. The wealthy are offshoring $20 to $30 trillion.
Why are they doing that? Because they don't see an environment in which they'll be rewarded for doing it.
I think they want to hold on to their money and not give a share of it to the folks who are working for them.
Money in an environment like this?
Well, the folks that are earning it, the folks that are actually making that money, the laborers, the folks that are actually spending the time 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours.
What about people who invest in those companies who want a return on that investment?
I have nothing wrong. I don't think there's any problem with it. I think we can give a really good return on investment to folks and not like treat workers this way and not cut their benefits. There's tons of money out there. There's $1.7 trillion, as I was saying, that corporations have banked. There's $20 to $30 trillion that the wealthy have put offshore.
Sounds like you just want to redistribute that wealth.
Exactly.
It's not a redistribute thing. These are folks that have earned that money by working.
That's right.
They're not lazy. They're not lazy. They've been working 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, the people in the corporations, they've worked hard, and they should be able to keep it.
That company that I was telling you about that doesn't allow people to take breaks and talk about anything other than work, they're making iPads for Apple.
And pro-Apple.
And I love Apple.
Well, I guess what I'm saying